MetaSpace, if you don't know, it's a hub for wellness and spirituality for the Web3 community. And the speaker series, we invite someone every month to come and speak on a topic, and then allow or have offer people to do a Q&A with them too. Um, so it's the only thing right now we charge for, so that we can pay the speaker for their time and contribution to the space. A few other things I want to say. So as we go along in the talk, if you have a question, just so we know, just give a little hand signal like this, and then we can call on you. If you're not speaking, please just turn your mic off so that we can really easily hear the speaker. And then we also encourage to have your camera on if you're comfortable with that. It's just easier to connect with each other when we do that. And then I think last thing, I just want to welcome Michelle. She's our speaker today, and we'll be talking about sacred connections, connecting with our authentic self. And it would be great if we could just go around and just say your name. If you'd like to share why you're here or what you want to learn, that'd be great. How about I'll just go around my screen and I'll call out the name, and then you can share. Let's start with Jacob.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacob, and I'm just so happy to be here. And Michelle is speaking about a topic I am really passionate about. So I'm just happy to be here.
Haslar.
Hello, I'm Hostler, which is formerly known as Pastor. Everyone is calling me Pastor, and I'm okay with that. And I'm really happy to be here. Rachel, Yaler, Nero, and Jacob, everyone has been very helpful to me. Being among you and in this environment has been a step forward in my life, and I'm so happy to be in a group with you guys and listening to this speaker every month.
Yaler.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yaler or Taylor, depending on where you meet me. And yeah, I'm also excited to be here and see the speaker series kind of taking off. There's been a lot of increased energy moving into MetaSpace lately, which I'm really excited to see happening, and lots of awesome developments, which I think are going to be super helpful for people in the Web3 space and beyond.
Vidran.
Hi, I'm here for the second time. I guess you all know each other. This is what I pick up from you. You are somehow connected. You know each other personally in real life. I'm in different continent. I'm in Europe. I guess I'm probably the only one. Maybe Paslar is in UK, right? Yes, I'm here just to see where does it go. I'm interested in these themes and spirituality and crypto, obviously, and yeah, this is here just to see, just to learn more things and get to connect it to people that are like-minded.
Niran.
Hey everybody, I'm Niran. I'm here because I went to the last speaker series event and that was really great. And I've been going to the weekly MetaSpace hangout meditation sessions. Those have been great as well. So I'm just going to keep going to things because it's always a good time. So really enjoy it.
Blair.
Hi. Yeah, I found this place through the Gitcoin grant this week. So this is like my first week of interaction with this group, but I'm really excited about it. I'm always telling Kristen about like how Web3 is gonna like change the world, and there's this big component of like health and spirituality that kind of like all revolve together. So to see MetaSpace is like really cool. I'm just excited to see what happens with this community.
And I'm Kristen, I'm Blair's girlfriend and not at all in the Web3 space, but I just finished a master's degree in occupational therapy, so I'm hoping to go into like holistic health and wellness. So the spiritual side, yogi side, meditation side, that's where I'm comfortable, but I think it's cool that these two worlds are coming together. So
Kyle.
Hey guys, I'm Kyle. I was introduced to Michelle actually through a mutual friend, so I've actually been to the ranch. I got kind of firsthand, I guess, feeling or love from these horses, so I'm excited to hear more about what Michelle has to say, as she's a wealth of knowledge.
And then last but not least, Michelle.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. So you want me to get started, Rachel?
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and talk about, maybe what you do a little bit, and then we can go into what you'd like to share.
Okay. So I work in the realm of healing alongside horses, as well as, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that is, as well as working with people in a one-on-one capacity in an office setting. And the long of the short of it is my work is about getting people into their heart. And to me, the authentic self is what we are feeling, not what we are thinking. And horses live in that place. That's why I love working with them, because they live in the moment. They don't have the ego structure we have. They're literally responding to life. And I've been working with them my whole life since I was 7 years old, doing the horse whisperer thing. And what I discovered is if you meet with them from your heart, they will come and build a really deep connection. And it's not just horses that do that. It's life. It's the people around us. It's work. So my life is about connecting. I felt connected to the world since I was a little girl. I went and got a children's Bible when I was 9. I was like, I feel something more to this life and I want to know what it is. And that was what my path has been. And horses were my safe place because I could connect with them and there wasn't all that noise and ego and drama and fear. It was just real connection. So a lot of my work is based in my work with them, but also just with the heart. So I say I'm a student of the horse and the heart. And everybody's capable of this. We call it, a spiritual practice, but it's a living practice. Everybody can feel their heart, even the most numb people. If you're numb, there's a contrast. You're feeling numb. So my passion, you don't have to be super spiritual or a type of spirituality or meditating all the time, but everybody can feel. And to me, that's the initial connection. So that's what I do with people. I help get them into their heart. And I do a lot of that reflecting with horses. And horses are what kept me in my heart when I was having a hard time humaning with people and all the resistance to love and connection. So I feel our world would look a lot different if we were connecting with each other, no matter what. Even if we have completely different belief systems, political ideas, everything. If we come into here, we're all pretty similar. So that's my jam. Yeah.
Michelle, can you talk a little bit about what resistance to love looks like, or what that even feels like in your body?
Resistance to love often looks like a lot of belief systems and ideas and judgments. And I find that the way people interact in relationships, it's very transactional, it's very conditional. I'll give you this if you give me that. And resistance to love. So say a person doesn't feel worthy of love and someone comes into their life and is just loving them. They might start thinking, what do you want from me? Why are you doing that? That's all here. That's not in your heart. Why are you giving me so much? It's all these belief patterns that in my work, when someone's telling me something like that, well, why are they doing that? They must want something. I'm going to go down the thread and go, where does that come from? Why would you believe that love has an agenda? Because love that we've experienced, it's not the real unconditional love like a mother or father has for a child, often comes with an agenda, an attachment, a transactional need. So I could talk about love all day and like what the real love is and what all the things that we've put on top of it as humans. Does that make sense? So resistance would be judging it, not believing it, not trusting it, pushing it away, running away from it. And people generally will put their wounds on each other and then make the other person responsible for them working that out. So it's like, you know, all of a sudden the girlfriend's mom and the boyfriend's dad, or whatever the Freudian projection is. Yeah.
So I just want to go a little bit further into that. When you talk about wounds being projected on somebody else, can you give more examples of how that shows up and how that affects the person who is wounded, if you can?
Yeah. If a person has insecurity around feeling loved, and this is most people, and they need to know that the other person's committed, they will do insecure attachment, which is, so they're feeling insecure, so they'll start asking the other person to make them feel better through that, which is literally unending until they resolve their insecurity. So no matter what the other person does, because they feel insecure inside, that person could shower them with the universe and they'll still be like, I still don't feel comfortable in this. So how does that affect the other person on the receiving end? Is that what you meant?
I was speaking about the person who's wounded, who's projecting that onto other people.
They'll play their wound out. So if they believe that love won't stay, they don't always, they'll be that person that'll work through it with them. But if they're in a victim and they believe that this person is going to reject them, they'll keep in different ways, prove that you love me, prove that you love me, prove that you love me. They might try to control the person. They might get insecure about them going out with other people. They might try to control that person's world because they're insecure. And generally, if you do that to another person, they're eventually going to leave because they don't want to be controlled. I see that in a lot of my clients. They'll try to control the other person to be what they need to feel secure rather than finding their security within. And that's a very controlled, transactional, life-sucking exchange. And the other person will leave and they'll say, see, love doesn't stay. People reject me. And they'll keep living from their wound of I'm a victim and life is happening to me, instead of, wow, I'm trying to make this person fill my wounds that they literally can't. Does that make sense? And that's not connection. That's not connection. That's fear.
Any questions about what she said, or anyone want clarity about anything?
Maybe this is like, or sorry. Was someone else going to go? I was going to say, maybe this is a side tangent, but do you feel like there's a difference between accepting someone the way they are versus changing them to become what you want them to be?
Yeah. Gosh. Okay, so love is freedom. My child has spit at me. He's thrown poop at the walls. I mean, that's when he's really small. Shut up. I mean, and I don't care. He's my child. I know he was a toddler when he threw poop at the walls. He was very small. I didn't like hold it against him and judge him because I just love my kid. And that's a little different than a relationship, but he is who he is. And I love him as he is because he's my child. I don't need anything from him. When we're in relationship, we tend to go into it wanting something from that person. Ideally just love, but it's usually, I want to feel valued. I want to feel worthy. This is the imbalance stuff. And we all have it. I want to feel that I'm lovable. Another person can't do that for you. So you go in wanting these things. And we have oxytocin, which is the love hormone. It brings us together. Woo! And everybody's beautiful. And we got our peacock feathers and we show our best sides. And then your hearts get close and boom, then your wounds start touching. And that's, if you don't consciously work through them, They will work through you. And an example would be, I don't like how much she's or he's going out with his friends. I feel really insecure, or I don't like the way women flirt with him, or whatever. Control, fear. I hear this in women a lot. And then they start trying to change the man or make him come home, or where are you going? Or I'm going to look at your texts. And it starts to suffocate that love. So love, I always tell my clients, when you meet someone, look at the things you don't like about them and decide if you can live with them. Because if you can't, you shouldn't be with them. Because it's not about changing, it's about growing together. And it has to be both. But it's not about changing unless the other person wants to change. That's not love. That is not love. And if you really, like, I love my child, I don't want to change him because I love him, you know? And I've got one that's a wild turkey, you know, but he's him. And with a partner, we change them to meld with our insecurities or our worldview or whatever it is, rather than embracing them as they are. And we're not doing that because we're not embracing ourselves as we are. That's the authenticity. And it's hard work, it's vulnerable, it's honest. But to me, love is freedom. If you really love someone, you want them to be their best them, like I am with my kid. Unconditional. It's hard. It's not saying this is an easy road. You have to continually work through it when things come up. But you recognize you are not the source of love for me. We share love. We dance in love. But I am the source of my own love. If I make this person responsible, it's tricky business. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about connection, Michelle, and how you would describe what that means for you.
Connection is being present for me. If I'm really present, I can find a point of connection with someone. And if we don't share a lot in common, it might be listening to their world. Because to me, if someone shares their world with you, that's very sacred and special. And we take it for granted. And in my work, people share their deep inner worlds. And I have to remind myself, that's a gift. So if I'm in the world, like, you know, I'm looking out at the trees and the way the wind's blowing and I'm feeling connected that way. And then I go to the store, I might look at my cashier and say, how are you? And look them in the eye. So they're treated like a human being and actually care. And a lot of times they'll share something about their world, and that's an offering from them to you. So to me, that's connection. It's being present and actually hearing with your heart. I don't do it all day long. I'm buzzing around with clients or, you know, whatever I'm doing, but that's what it means to me and how I try to connect. Or if I'm with the horses, I do my best to drop in and feel what they're feeling, where they're at, what's going on. But to me, it's in one word, it's presence. Being present with what's happening in the moment, not all in our head. It's a heart-based experience.
Would you say it's almost like meeting someone where they are in that moment?
Yes. Without a need, without a judgment, without a projection, which is sometimes hard, just being with what is.
And when we talk about the authentic self, you were saying that you believe that's when you're connected to how you feel, or being aware of how someone else feels. Can you talk more about how that allows you to get to like your true self, your authentic self?
Well, feeling, like truly feeling, for some people requires meditation and getting quiet and connecting. So our authentic self, to me, everything I'm speaking to is not an idea. It's here in the heart, like I keep saying, right? So our authentic self is, what do you really feel? And the question I ask in life a lot, is that true? Of my life, of myself, is that really true? Is that really what you feel? Is that really what you want? Is it true? And some people will be like, I don't know, because they're numb. So that authentic knowing requires going into our feelings, not our head. Because the mind is full of, the mind, what does it do? It looks around and identifies and it judges, and it's full of all our belief systems and memories, which are just neurological events at this point, just being, you know, we call them dancing chemicals. And then there's the feeling, which is real, always in the moment when we tap into it. And everybody can do it. It's not this thing that you have to be spiritual to feel your heart. We all cry at movies. I bet y'all watch the Hallmark Christmas movies. I was just kidding. We all have it. It's not a superpower, but yet it is. Does that make sense?
Any questions about that? Anyone? Or
I got a question. Is there ever a time where your mind and heart are synced in a way? Or is there a way to tell a difference between your mind and your heart, I guess? Because sometimes things happen and you feel a certain way, and it's almost like my mind is also kind of on that same track, but I guess it's kind of hard to know what the difference between the two is.
Okay, so the way that I experience it, and bear in mind, I say everything with the recognition that people have their own perceptions and experiences, and I'm real big on you find your own way with these things. But what I've experienced with that and meditation and such is that when you have a thought, right? You have a thought and you don't have to invest in that thought. So a thought comes in. How many of us have fearful thoughts that we invest in that never happen? Everybody I know, right? The thought comes in and it's here. And then you look at it and you invest in it, I say. You go, And then you're putting your attention on that thought. Well, what if that does happen? Or whatever it is. Or, wow, I really want that to happen. Wow, imagine if that could happen. Whatever that thought is. And then what comes after that is a feeling. So you have the thought, and then you have the emotional response to the thought. And then for a lot of people, they're in storyland. And guess what? A lot of it isn't even real. A lot of our thoughts aren't, I'm not saying they're not happening, but they actually aren't going to manifest in reality. They're an idea. And I don't mean things you create in your work. I don't mean that. I mean, it's just literally we're dancing around in an idea, having a reaction to it, and not working with it in tangible reality. So the mind will click in the feelings, but is the mind and the heart connected? I don't know how to answer that exactly. I feel like if you're led by your heart, you can use your mind as a tool because it's like a computer, so it takes whatever you give it, and you can use your mind to do amazing things. I use my mind to go, and I take my mind and my heart and I go and look at my family's house in Maine and pray for them and surround it in love. And I use my mind to do it. So you can travel with your mind in magical, beautiful ways, but there's a lot that we do in our mind that leads to feeling that isn't based in reality. Does that make sense? So there's I feel like the mind will, if the heart is trying to lead, the mind will actually hijack it. So I kind of feel like they're two different beings, but you can use the mind for the direction of the heart. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So usually so for you, is it usually when a thought comes into your mind, it's there it is, this might be how I'm feeling, but I'm going to let it go, kind of in a way?
Not all the time. Sometimes I'm bouncing around with all the dancing monkeys and but
oh, you are human.
Huh?
You are human.
Yeah, if a thought comes in and I look at it, and I'll often, if I'm being conscious, I'll go, is that true? I'll look at it and I'll be like, is that true? And I that's part of, with meditation, you get more in your consciousness, which to me, your consciousness is your spiritual, it doesn't have to be a bunch of ideas, but your knowing, whether you call it your soul, your awareness, which is beyond the mind. So when you're conscious, you can watch what's happening around you and respond to life rather than react. And that means being present and conscious. And then you can start to watch your mind. So when I'm in that place, which isn't all the time, I watch my mind. I watch what it's doing. And you can literally reroute thinking patterns. You have a pattern. These people are looking, I'm not saying you do this, but there's people that like have anxiety. People are looking at me, as people are looking at me. I have a client with that. That's why I brought it up. I said, do you realize you're panicking about a thought that's not happening? Is anyone looking at you? No. Then what are we doing right now? We're freaking out about a thought that's not happening. So change your thought and keep changing it. When it comes up, go, that's not true. And if they were, who cares? So we took it from that's not true to who cares if they're looking at you? You're allowed to be in your body. They had incredible trauma. So anybody putting energy at them freaked them out. And it created that thought. Many like that. Does that make sense? It's not true. So what you invest in is what's going to grow. Just like with your money. It's just being funny. Right? So you're good with money, right, Kyle? So be good with your thoughts and choose wisely.
Well said. Thank you.
Yeah.
Taylor.
I wanted to ask, what is the beginning point for someone to move from unconscious to conscious, from unawareness to awareness? It's like, where do people start, or how can they start? Is it a point in time, or is it like an aha moment?
So the mind is linear, right? Mind goes point in time or structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
That awareness is here now, always, watching everything. And you feel it throughout the day. Everybody does. You ever think about someone's going to call you and they do things like that? It's a silly example, but you're in awareness. You're feeling what's happening. So it's always there. How do you tap into it? The way I suggest for people to start is learn how to meditate. And I'm not talking, there's nothing wrong with guided meditations, but I find people are still thinking because they're thinking about the guided meditation. So I highly suggest just, we can do it at the end of this or at some point. You just connect your breath. And if you just connect your breath and close your eyes and just breathe and keep your breath connected and just feel your body, that's a good start. And just start watching your mind. That's it. And watching. And at first the mind is going to be like, and you don't identify with it. You witness it. Everybody can do that right now. It's not inaccessible. So that's a good starting point. And then you learn to watch how your mind works. And then once you become aware of what you do and what your mind does, you can choose differently.
Michelle,
that makes sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, like when Kyle was asking about thoughts, and then you were saying when you have a thought, then you have the feeling behind it. Can you talk a little bit about like the expansive feeling and the contracted feeling one can have, and how that can help us with the thoughts we have?
Okay, so in response to thoughts, when you're in a place of expansion, it's like, I don't know if I understand the question, but I'm going to work with it.
So I'll be a little bit more clear. So like after you have that thought and you have that feeling, like if you have a yes or a no, or that like opening or contraction. Got it.
Okay. So that's a great question. Thank you, Rachel. So if the way to be aware of that would be being in your body feeling. So when there's a yes, we feel what a yes feels like they talk about gut feeling. When it's a yes, it's a, when you feel it in your body. If people start telling me, I don't know, and let me think, and I'll go, how does it feel? And they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, you do. That's your answer. The yes is full bodied. Yes. Do you want ice cream? Yes. Do you want pizza? Yes. Do you want to go do your taxes? Ugh. No. And what does that feel like? So you could play with it ask a question, something you really love to do, and then ask yourself a question literally with your body that you aren't as open to. It doesn't mean you don't do your taxes, and feel what the contraction will tend to feel like a tightening. I notice when people contract, they hold their breath a lot, like most people hold their breath. I'm not talking till you're blue in the face, like they'll take pauses in between their breaths. And you feel it. People feel way more than they give themselves credit for. We've gotten really good at tricking ourselves out of a lot. That help?
And yeah, and then can you kind of go into, I don't know if this makes sense or not, but taking that response, that visceral response you have to like an idea or a question or thought, and then how we act from that, and then how that might start to change those neural pathways about how we think about something.
With a yes, you mean?
Or no, yes or no. Yeah.
So it's neural pathways, and it's also our nervous system. So if you think about it, we get messages in our nervous system before our neural pathways are even starting to fully form. Where a lot of babies go and reach up and people stop the hand, and that's a message, stop. So it's the first contraction from life. And we get unconscious messages from our world about what kind of woman we're meant to be by watching our mom, and then you get unconscious messages from, we talk about love with Disney movies and all that. And so we have all that in there. And when it comes to neural pathways, what that means is you have an idea, this is what love looks like, or this is what life looks like. This is how people are going to respond to me. And it's ingrained in there. And if it's not what's happening, we'll literally project it out into the world and create it through our own hidden habits. So I'm trying to figure out how to work with this in a way that's tangible. So I'll go with a yes first, because those are easier. Because a yes, we can shift neural pathways. So if the neural pathway is, my mom always said growing up, work is really hard. You always have to work hard for what you want. And I have no problem working hard, but she made it like things don't come easily. So for a good part of my life, I made it hard for things to get to me, even when they're trying to get to me, because things don't come easily. And then I started working with my mentor, and she said, you can shift that and then be more receptive to things coming more easily to you. And you're going to see your habits are going to change because you don't have that idea anymore. So I started telling myself through affirmation, things can come easily to me. The universe wants to bless my life. And then you'd say, oh, it was law of attraction and the universe just blessed me. Yes. But I was more open to the blessings that were trying to come to me. So I made a shift. People were trying to give me things before that or help me, and I would turn it away because I thought I had to do it all myself. So then I started opening up my vision. And when people say, can I help you with that? I'd say yes. And guess what? Life got easier and it wasn't so hard. And it happened with the horses. I literally had 8 horses 2 years ago that I was taking care of myself with some help, but not a lot. Rain or shine, in the mud, feeding. We had a big paddock and it would be muddy all the time. It was a rough winter. And people were like, can I help you? And I'd be like, I'm good. Now people are like, can I help? I'm like, let me think of what I need help with. And it's made my life easier so that I can do more for the horses. And that was shifting beliefs. Does that make sense? So people say, what do I just say an affirmation? It's just going to happen? No, you recognize that you start to open your field of vision and you'll start to see the things that have been trying to come, and that's just one example.
Taylor.
Would you say that receptivity, by not feeling and not allowing what wants to come to us, what wants to be like given to us, we often block those energies off. We block what's coming, like all of the good stuff that's coming our way off, just because we're telling ourselves a story.
It's the mental belief creates a contraction. So someone could be like right there, like, which literally happened in my life. I want to help you. And I'd be like, I'm good. I got it. That was me. They were right there. And I had it in my head that I had to just do it myself because they're my horses and my job. And that was all here. They were right there. Same people are still right there. Now we have a big volunteer crew, and that's the most accessible thing I can think of. But yeah, we'll contract and we won't see what's right in front of us. And it's different for everybody. We all have different things, I believe life wants to love us back, personally. and people want to serve and help each other. Like, you look at when there's a tragedy, people show up because they have to, but I believe that's intrinsic in the human heart to work together, and that's connection, and we all long for it. That makes sense?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that we have to have those times of duress or stress be the best examples that we can think of when people are coming together. Like, what about the other 364 days of the year where we're just living our days in and out?
Well, and that's an extreme one, right? So there are like gentler versions, but people want to show up. People want to feel connected. That's available right now, but it involves us being vulnerable and getting it moving. And one of the ways I'll do it is, like I said, I'll go out into the world and I'll just connect with whoever shows up. It's really fun. Like, wow, let me see who this person is. And it creates connections and it opens hearts. Yeah. And it doesn't have, and the other thing of human beings in my work, what I've noticed is they learn through contrast. They have to hit a wall. And, when I put up electric fencing for horses in the past, they touched it once and that's it. And I don't know how many people I watch, they touch it, get shocked, and then they touch it again. And I go, welcome to your life. Like, really? That doesn't feel good. Well, I just want to see. That's what I just went through this kind of relationship and it really hurt. This guy or girl looks like it, but I just want to see. Okay. And my mentor, he's passed away, God bless him, he used to say, well, I guess you're not done suffering with that. Totally. He's like, that's fine. When you hit your wall, you will realize you don't want to do that anymore. That's called human being. And I'm not saying we're dumb, but we're like overly curious. Let me see. Maybe I can do this again and do it different instead of choosing something more aligned. It's funny. I've done it a bunch. Yeah.
Well, we're used to those things, right? We're used to those experiences. Sorry, I'm like in my tangent.
Not a tangent. You're expressing. And it doesn't have to be hard. You can shift like that. You really can. You just have to be okay with the feelings that are going to come on. So we got to feel it to heal it, all that business.
We need a t-shirt. We need t-shirts.
I got a couple I'm working on, me and Jacob.
All right.
Thank you.
Michelle, can you talk about what Paslar mentioned, lost connections or even connections that or someone you felt connected to where it's starting to unravel?
So there is healthy connections and well, no, wrong line there. I won't go down there. Sometimes we think that a connection is ending and it's not, it's actually changing. So say that we all go through this. When we grow, we have people in our life and we're growing in one direction and they're growing in another. And then there's not a lot of points of relation or true meeting. And those relationships either change or they go. And I'm okay with that if it's honest and the exchange is honest, and then you just acknowledge this is just shifted and you let it go. But then there's the connections that break because people came together, wounds touched, and they didn't want to look at it, and then they go. And that hurts because it's not resolved. So those kinds of connections, my belief is we should always honor what was there and in its fullness. And if there's a broken connection, I come to it. If the person's valuable to me, which in my life, I don't, if we're connected, I'm going to try to resolve that. And it may mean walking away, but at least saying this hurt or whatever it is. And if that person can meet you there, generally you can keep going. So there's there's connections that evolve away from each other, and then there's broken. connections. And if there's a love there, the other personal stuff can get resolved. So that requires one of us, both of us ideally, to be vulnerable. But usually if two people go like that, one person has to be willing to be the vulnerable one and re-engage that conversation, which is worth it to me, instead of just dumping it, because it's going to come back through somebody else until we work out whatever that was.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to my next question about when we don't go in, like when we separate, when that connection breaks. Would you say it's almost where, I don't know, maybe running away is not the best word, but it's just what's coming to my head right now, from our learning, a learning for ourselves, or how would you say, what happens when we don't decide to resolve that connection, like unresolved connections?
People just go away.
Yeah, just go away without, without any kind of like resolution, if you will.
There's different reasons why that happens. So if it's just they're evolving in a different direction, then maybe the resolution is on the behalf of the person that's wondering what happened. If it's a breaking away because of a disagreement, if there's a heart connection, those don't ever break. So there's people I've loved that are still in my heart, but we're not even in each other's lives anymore, right? There's that. But if it's in the interpersonal realm, it requires both people wanting to resolve that, because it doesn't just go away. And but oftentimes it's one person. I found people just naturally go apart. There's one person that's needing resolution because they still want the connection. Another person might be moving in another direction. But if it's an explosive one, both have to come together and resolve it, or not, but it's not going to go away. So what happens there is I feel like it's unresolved, and it'll have to be dealt with through some means, whether it's another connection like that, if it's something you're working out. And if someone wants to go away, the way that I try to love is through freedom. So just, okay, I'm here, and the way that we can show up to that, so that we're showing up in our connections and our relating, is to let the other person know that we're present and we're there and we're available for the connection. That's the most we can do. Did that help?
Yeah, thank you. Taylor.
Many questions today. Is it possible?
Then you move.
Yeah. I'm relaxing over here. Is it possible to heal a broken connection without the participation of the other person? You know what I mean? Like
On your end.
Yeah, like on your end.
But not with them if they're unresolved with you.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you can do the work you need to, but there's nothing that you can do for them, basically.
The best thing you could do for them if they're unresolved is work through it with them. If you honor, and if you close things in a sacred way. When I haven't been in ceremony in a while, but I used to go to ceremonies a lot, and we'd be up all night praying, and then they'd always close the circle. So when I end the last relationship I ended a while ago, I closed the circle to honor it. So it could be done, so that didn't come back, because I was done. And I made it very clear I was done, and I honored what was there and closed it. This is done. Thank you. Goodbye. Closed. I don't thinking about it. They're not coming back and trying to work things out. It's honoring a connection. Even if you're pissed or hurt, don't forget the love. And again, my crazy mentor used to say, don't take anything personal but the love, because that's what's real. All our ego crap is gone at the end of the day. This remains, and a broken connection hurts because of a break from love, and that's to be honored. even if the person was a shit at the end. Excuse my language. There was still love at one time, or still is how I feel. Does that help? Okay.
We have about 10 minutes left if anyone else has any questions or comments for Michelle. Blair.
Yeah, I was curious about horse therapy and what horses, what that experience like provides to people in terms of like grounding, like I don't know, compared to other tools that you may have access to, like meditation or breathing and stuff, and what the difference is when you do that therapy with a horse.
The difference is that when you bring people in with a 1,000-pound animal with a heart that's like this big, their heart field, if you look at things in terms of energy, is like 10 feet wide. You don't have to look at things that way. They have a big heart and they meet people from their heart. So people tend to feel more pressure if it's just one-on-one engagement around what's going on in their life. You bring in these, I've got 5 horses, you bring in 5 land dolphins that are snuggling them and kissing them and nuzzling them and then just touching them. I forget because I'm with them all the time. People will just put their hand on them and be like, start crying. So it's the triangulation of the horse. It's not me just with them and their vulnerability, which I'm not like this with people, but you know, it's different. And then they start to engage with the horse and they'll often feel more comfortable to open up. And a lot of people are more comfortable being vulnerable around animals than people. I was for a long time. I really, you know, I'd go with my horses, I'd sleep in the tack room. So it's just that presence of a sentient being that is the way these horses engage. They literally come and show up. They'll put their head over people and stand over them and breathe on them or put their nose by their face, sometimes for the whole session. For people that aren't around horses, that's amazing. And they are a lot like dolphins. They're very intuitive. They'll pick up on things with people and mirror it as well. So it's just different. And the other part is people don't engage with life in that intuitive way a lot of times that come to me, or maybe they do, but to have a horse engage with them so deeply and mirror things, it opens their mind because they're like, oh. And horses bring you very present because they're huge. You can't be spacing out with a big animal around you like that. So people get very present. And when you're present, you can feel what you might have been distracting from. So they bring people present, and that's their primary thing I've noticed is people like, wow, I feel, grounded, like you said, and very present. You have to be, they're big. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a question. I was going to ask, so what's the common thing you see with most people you work with that come through the healing with the horses? Is it the fact that they are just stuck in their head and they're not present? Is that just the common theme with most people?
A lot of people that come to me, most people aren't present, including me sometimes, everybody. Not present. I get a lot of people that aren't fully in their body because of trauma, and horses bring that up. They bring up where someone, and Jacob was saying this, his teacher was saying, I can't remember how it was explained, how horses are in a certain part of their brain because safety is so important to them. They're prey animals, but they can pick up on people's feeling of unsafety, which is most people being vulnerable, being in their body. What I mean by being in their body is if someone has trauma, they will shut off part of their feelings because they'll have to feel, you have to feel all of it. And horses pick up on it and they'll respond to it. In different ways. And I interpret that. So when it's happening, so I have a lot of people that literally are not in their body or having a hard time feeling. A lot of people come and just start crying, like all the time, 7 out of 10, just. And I step back and I sit to the side and let the horse come to them. And that's where it happens because it's safe. It's comfortable. I'm not looking at them while they're vulnerable in this, and so people who aren't feeling, who are going through grief, trauma, which is nowadays I'm getting a lot of burnout from COVID, anxiety, depression. I mean, and all of that to me is not trauma, that's a little different, but is people aren't fully embodied. They're having a hard time feeling. And the horses get you there. It's really something. I've been doing it 15 years, watching them just do the most amazing things with people. They can feel you completely. Yeah.
We probably have time for one more question if anyone else or any comment anyone wants to make.
Thank you for your guys' time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was beautiful, Michelle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for coming, and Michelle, thank you for speaking and sharing so much with us.
Thank you.
Yes. Of
Where
course.
can we get in contact with you, Michelle? Do you have a website? Do you have Twitter? You know, where can we find your stuff?
I have a website. It's called medicinehorsehealing.com.
Oh, here, I'll put it in the chat for everybody.
Bam. Thank you.
And I just want to thank a few more people. I want to thank Panvala because they match. They have support matching this program. I also want to thank Gitcoin and everyone who's contributed to that. I think there's maybe 8 more hours left if you want to donate to MetaSpace. And our next speaker series is next month, January 21st. It's a Thursday. So I hope you all can come to that. I'll be posting more information about that soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Now I just want to come see those horses. So we might have to arrange that.
Do it. We got volunteer nights on Mondays or just anytime.
Awesome.
Where are
Thanks,
you?
everyone. Oh, there was a question. I think Michelle's in Sedona, Arizona.
Ooh, awesome. Right on.
Yeah.
On our
Field
list
trip.
to go visit. So we might have to chat. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful
Bye-bye.
day.
Bye. Thank you.